You good to go?
Hi, good evening. It is Thursday, November 18th, 2021. It is 7:00 p.m. and this is the beginning of the Needham Conservation Commission public hearing. As a preliminary matter, my name is Janet Bernardo. I am the Conservation Commission Chair. And just permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Stephen?
Aye, here.
Artie?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
Allison?
Here.
And Sue, we do not see, correct? Okay. And Deb?
Present.
Clay?
Here.
Great. Okay, so good evening. This open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this board and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and/or their consultant to begin their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or question. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay, done. So we have, hopefully some of these are going to be relatively easy. Is 631 South Street? Oh, you're here, Brian.
I am here.
Okay, wait, I have to make sure that's, okay, so Emily Petro, is she also here?
She is not. This is Brian Nelson from Metro West Engineering.
Okay, and so Brian and anybody else on your group?
Susan Mitchell, the property owner, I don't know if she had the same link as me, but she might be viewing from the general audience. I'm not sure.
Clay, do you see?
I don't see her on my screen, but so she may join us shortly.
Okay,
but
so
she's the owner
Susan-
and she'd like to join tonight as well.
Okay, so Susan Mitchell?
Yes.
So do you want to start before she comes on, or do you want to wait for her?
I think it would be good to start. Just I'll be fairly brief, and I would just kind of like to refresh everybody's memory. It's been a little while, and then I guess just kind of get the pulse of the commission. But we had been before you a couple times, I believe. First time was back in August of this year.
Yeah, let me just say, so this is 631 South Street, DP file number 234872. This is a continued notice of intent. And at the same time, we're opening, I assume, 649 South Street, DP file number 234874. And presenting tonight is Brian Nelson, and Clay, keep an eye out for Susan Mitchell, who may want to pop in. Okay, now we can start.
All right. We appeared, I think it was back beginning of August, and then a few weeks after that. And the two properties, 631 and 649, they're adjoining properties on the north side of South Street. And I had sent over a drawing to Clay. I don't know if you can put that up on the screen. Maybe we can kind of use that for reference. But we came before you for removal of, there were 7 trees that were, some were within a bordering vegetated wetland. Some were in the 25-foot wetland buffer zone, and some were in the 50-foot wetland buffer zone. And so we had started our presentation seeking removal of those trees, came back, and I think between the first and second meeting, some members had visited the site, and so I'd followed up with Clay a couple times after to see if there was any interest in a second site visit, because I do think these trees are in pretty poor shape, so I think it would be good for all to see them. But what we did was got some information from the arborist, Chris Jordan from Maltby Tree, who is a licensed arborist, and he basically took an inventory of the trees that he feels are hazards. I do have some notes from him, and I'm hoping to get a letter from him that states the, kind of the nature of each hazard. But what I did think would be a good place for us maybe to go would be, if there is any interest in a site visit, I think it might be nice to have Chris join us out there so he could, kind of show you each tree and kind of specifically elaborate on each hazard. But we did get some information from Chris, and that's depicted on this plan. We've got the 7 trees shown, basically with their heights, their location, whether they're in the 25-foot buffer zone or the 50-foot or within the BBW. And then basically what Chris did was outlined a potential fall arc for each hazardous tree, so that there are 6 different arcs shown here. There's one tree within the BBW number 3, which we figured was a non-starter to ask to be removed. So we just left that one shown on the plan. But the other 6 trees, heights are delineated in fall arcs. And you can see that one of the trees kind of located near the house at 649 has the potential to fall. Certainly, it's going to be very close to the house, and certainly fall within the front yard. And there are 2 or 3 other ones that are located basically north or almost between the 2 houses at 631 and 649, which have the potential to fall on that area that's basically traveled between the Mitchells as they pass from house 631 to 649. I think I had mentioned at the previous hearing that Mrs. Mitchell's mother-in-law lives at the house at 631. So the kids and, certainly the adults for that matter, rather than going out on the South Street, kind of pass through that part of the property to where it's common to travel from house to house. So there's some information here. The plan is also kind of dotted with some green circles, and those are proposed plantings. We had talked about certainly a willingness to, certainly to do restorative planting. I think there's a bunch of flexibility on the owner's part. I had stated that at previous meetings. So we had started with a few plantings, and we've basically elaborated to planting 6 trees. So there'd be 3 black gums and 3 swamp white oaks, which we feel would do pretty well in this area. And those are the bigger circles shown basically around the BBW and within that 25-foot wetland buffer zone. And then also the planting of 28 shrubs, which there'd be some winterberry, spice bush, viburnum, and some red osier dogwoods. And again, those are planted in clusters, but again, spread out. We're just trying to avoid overplanting. So hopefully the trees that are proposed will prosper. With that, I'd like to get any feedback from the commission. I know it's been a while, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Great, thank you. We'll have the commission go kind of one by one. Allison, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm just wondering about the white ash. Do they have the borer? Is that what's going on with them?
Can you repeat that? I heard a part of that, but
I'm wondering about the white ash. Or is it the borer? Is that what's going on with them? Why are they?
the tree is completely dead. Even through this year, it had no leaf canopy, but it's got some pretty good decay along the trunk.
We shouldn't argue about a dead tree, so that's okay. And the snag, I don't have any issues with. There's number 1 is a white ash, number 5 is a white ash. So are both of those dead?
That is correct.
Okay.
Dead with no leaves on them.
That's correct.
And the red maple, number 2, what about that? And then the number 7 red oak.
Okay, so the red maple number 2 has a pretty big crack at the base. And it's basically leaning into another tree right now. So that one we feel is pretty hazardous to fall. Certainly it won't reach a budding property, but it will certainly fall within that 25-foot wide easement that straddles the lot line between the two properties. Number 7 is the red oak. Half of that tree, that was a twin. Half of that tree has already fallen. The other half is leaning and certainly looks like it would fall onto the abutting property at 40 High Rock, which is behind 631 South
So
Street.
it's a twin, it's not a double leader.
It was a twin, and half of it, the first leader has
So it's
fallen.
two
Yeah.
different trees, it's two different trees that grew, is what you're saying. It makes a difference because, to me, it makes a difference. If it's,
Okay.
if it's a twin, and there was two different trees that grew right next to each other, and one has fallen, then I would not have any problem with that, with taking that one down. If it is a double leader, one tree, then that I might have more of a question. Do you know which it is?
I think it's a double leader, but I honestly don't know the answer to that one. It's been a while since I've looked at it.
And
Okay.
these are all these that are in the wetland that we typically would just allow to leave in the wetland. So keeping that in mind, we don't usually have a concern with dead trees that are outside of the wetland that may be a hazard and to fall on the house. But, we're back to, is it reasonable to remove a tree or even leaving a snag when it's actually in the wetland? So keeping that in mind, Allison, if you have any recommendations on.
I think you can make it a snag. So if they're really crossing between it, and also in this wetland, isn't a lot of it lawn, but is wetland soil?
Some of it is lawn, and that lawn area is predominantly in clay. I don't know if you can highlight where that 25-foot wide sewer and drain easement is. There is a stretch of lawn right in there, and basically the Mitchells had maintained that just because there's, I won't say frequent, but there is access from town of Needham trucks, probably 3 or 4 times a year. There is a manhole in the middle of that easement too. So just trying to keep the manhole visible.
Okay, so I guess my attitude would be, if it's dead and it's lawn and people walk there, that just like I said, if it were a trail, that you could make a snag, just because that's historic. If it's not lawn and it's alive, like the double, then I would think that I would leave it. That's my.
Do you think a site visit would be useful, Allison?
Yes.
Was that a yes? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Artie?
We've been through this road before, and that the lawn that's there is within a wetland, which technically really shouldn't be there. It's heading towards the continuation of the easement, which is not lawn, and so that lawn doesn't need to be there for the easement to exist. So the fact that there's grass there in the border vegetated wetland does not distract from the fact that it's a border vegetated wetland. We're being asked to take trees down in that area. We're being asked to take trees down which are not going to fall on a house, which are not hazard trees. Hazard trees are hazard trees if they can fall on a house. None of these can fall on a house. If you want to talk about number 1, maybe we can talk about that one. But none of these trees are technically hazard trees. So I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if that phrase is being used, but I don't think it should be used. And again, these are in wetland. I mean, we never take trees down in a wetland. We don't do it. That goes against everything that we're commissioned to do, is to protect the wetland and let it be. So I'm not sure. I mean, I know, respectfully, I understand that you really want to take them down, and you did what we asked. You went back and you did the height requirements, because there was some statement of that they can fall on a house, which was, I didn't think was the case, and it's coming back and it's showing that they're not hazardous to a house. And
Do
so
you think a site visit would be useful?
if you want to do a site visit, I'll do a site. I've been there. I've been out to the property, so I've seen it. And I've taken measurements myself. As you know, I'm part of my business is elevations and housing and so forth. So I've already done, done some analysis myself as far as, because I really wanted to know, are these hazardous? Is there a reason why we're being asked to take these down? I can appreciate the fact that I very much appreciate the fact that the family owns both houses and you want to, keep safe going between them. But they can keep safe going between them. It is possible to keep safe going between them. This this wetland is not supposed to be a rain garden. Basically, as in, we're not supposed to be planting in there, taking out from there, doing things to it like it's a rain garden. And to some degree, that's kind of like what's going on. So I would say no. I mean, we've never done this before. If we do it now, someone else is going to come. Hey, can I take this tree down on my board of registering wetland because I want it to be something different than a
Stephen?
But
I'm sorry, I already finished.
that's okay. I'm done.
Stephen?
Yeah, I concur with Artie, and again, we've talked about this before, and I don't see anything that's changed my mind. I mean, there's one tree outside of the wetland in the 25-foot buffer that maybe I would be okay with, but the rest of them clearly are inside, that area, and it's not supposed to be a traversable area. We always have people put markers to delineate the area so they don't go into that area, and the categorization of the area on the easement as lawn, I think, is a little overstated. It only appears to be lawn because it's been continually mowed by the homeowner. And I don't need a site visit. I live right next door, basically, so I drive by there all the time. It should just not be mowed anymore, unless the town feels like they need to do it. And I'm guarantee you the town is not going to mow that easement. So again, it should be a wetland. It should go back to a natural state, and trees fall all over the place on people's yards all the time. And, that's what you get when you live in the suburbs. If you don't want trees to fall down, then you got to move to the city, go to Somerville. So I don't see any reason why we should accept this.
Bill?
I tend to agree with Stephen and Artie. I would entertain some sort of written documentation if it was harmful to the occupants of the house or the property, could cause significant damage. But other than that, I don't know if a site visit will change anything.
Peter?
Yeah, I'm more or less in agreement. I'm willing to give on tree number 1 because I think that does present a danger. And I think when the Mass DEP letter came out, that was the only condition under which a tree, either in the wetland or in a no disturb zone, would be removed. I think there's possible grounds for number 6 as well, which looks like it's proposed to become a snag. Because if I remember right, that was the area that a tree fell on, a play structure at some point. So that one also looks like it would fall into like a livable lawn area potentially. But beyond that, I agree that if it falls in the not disturb zone, that's what it's supposed to do. I mean, that's what our bylaws are all about.
Did Sue ever come on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, Susan Mitchell. Oh, good. I was thinking Sue from our board, but that's good. It's good that you're here too. Do you want to, I'm sure did you hear all of the different commission comments?
I did, and I appreciate, this whole process, and I've tried to do it the right way. And I don't know if you understand why we started this whole process. I was sitting on my patio with two of my kids, and we heard a huge cracking noise, and all of a sudden a tree came down and it flattened our trampoline. If any of my children had been on that trampoline at that time, they would not have lived. This area of our yard is an area that my kids are constantly running around in and constantly playing in. I just don't accept that I can't go in that part of our yard because the trees that are dead need to stay there. At this last storm, you should have seen the number of branches that those trees dropped in my yard. It is dangerous. I have 4 children. I'm sorry, I've tried to go through this process the correct way, but I know some of you have said that you've come to our site and seen it, but if you really walk and see what my kids are walking underneath, it is a hazard to them. It is a hazard to me. It is a hazard to my mother-in-law. It is a hazard to my husband. And I don't kind of accept it. You know, we moved into this house almost 12 years ago. We've done nothing but kind of maintain what was there when we bought it. You know, I know you guys keep talking about the lawn that we mowed. I just had my landscaper continue to mow the lawn. I thought the town wanted me to do that because it was over an easement. It's about a 20-foot wide swath of land. You're not talking about a huge piece of land that we're mowing. The only reason I ever mowed that lawn area was because I thought I was supposed to for the town. And the thought that we're not going to use that area of our yard to walk back and forth to my mother-in-law who just moved in, who's 80 years old, because I'm not allowed to remove trees, is ridiculous. My kids can't go out on South Street. It's the only way over to their grandmother's house. The trees are going to come down. It's not a matter of if they're going to come down, it's when. And I just don't want one of my kids to be walking by when it happens. So this is not kind of, I appreciate this whole process, but I'm not asking for a lot here. I have probably 100 trees on my property, and I'm asking to take down the trees that are dead. 2 of them are actually leaning on other trees right now. The only reason they're standing right now is because they are being held up by other trees. I'm not waiting for those trees to fall someday, and God forbid one of my kids is underneath it. I think if any of you guys have kids, you know that, you know, to watch that tree fall down on our play structure, it was awful. It was awful. I didn't sleep for a week thinking about if one of my kids was there. And that's what started this whole process. These trees are dead. They are going to fall. You all know that. And I don't want them to fall on my family. So we can have this whole conversation. I've tried to go through this the right way. I've spent probably $5,000 on this already. And I'm just, at the end of the day, these trees are coming down. I'm sorry. They're coming down.
Interesting.
Thank you. Thank you for your very honest discussion. Yeah, I hear you, and I am struggling with it. Mass DP basically said this is, you know, not permittable, that we're not supposed to allow you to take your trees down. It is a resource area that we're protecting for habitat and for various other flood mitigation, and, you know, there's various wetland resource protection reasons. I am willing to do a site visit again with Brian and the homeowner and Allison and anybody else that wants to join us, that we can schedule it to be there at the same time. And I feel for you because I'm struggling with this. This is not something that we've ever permitted anywhere in Needham, and Mass DP is basically telling us that we can't. And so it's a struggle for us. So,
Can I throw in a couple comments?
yes,
I did talk to the circuit rider after that letter was issued.
okay,
And she did fully acknowledge that she wrote that letter without seeing the trees. And she said that, when I talked to her on the phone, that basically, she kind of left it in your hands as the commission to say, well, if the trees are hazards, then they should be looked at. So I do, I offer that. I do think that, in terms of these trees that are in decline, they're dead. I think the intent would be to plant, some kind of mitigation or mitigatory planting regime. And, we did this with the first order I worked with on the Mitchells. This is going back probably 7 or 8 years ago. And there was quite a bit of knotweed on the 649 property. And that was pretty diligently removed. So, there's certainly a willingness to remove invasives too. There, I know there's knotweed, there's some bittersweet. I think there might be some English ivy. So, I'd mentioned that before. We're happy to do that, and I'll try to quantify that on the plan if it would, I guess maybe perpetuate or memorialize that a little bit.
well, let's at least schedule a site walk before you do anything more. I think what I heard was that tree number 1 is something that we're going to be comfortable with. Peter also mentioned tree number 6, which maybe Stephen also mentioned. So that's 2 that we'll probably be comfortable with, but I appreciate that you have another 4 or that you want to talk about. So I am willing to schedule a site visit so that we can all be, making sure that we're looking at the same thing. Stephen, I
Can
think.
we get, can I add something?
Yes.
Can we get something in writing from DEP? Because all we have right now are their comments. I know that you spoke to her and she said that to you on the phone verbally. I'm wondering if you could get something in writing stating.
I will try to do that. I'll try again to see if I can get her to actually visit the site with us, or maybe at a separate time. So maybe if she's not available at the same time as everybody else, maybe, you or Clay and I could meet with her out there and we could show her the trees and get her feedback as well. But I'll try to do that certainly.
Yeah,
Could
that's fine.
I ask a technical question?
Yes.
What if in the wetland, if this tree is dead, that you could snag it, fall it, let it stay where it lies? That's what it would do naturally. What about that?
We had talked about that at the first meeting. I think that certainly.
I mean, I don't know. I'm asking Janet. I'm asking the commission.
Okay.
Brian, I'm sorry, due respect.
Clay, can you take this down so we, I keep forgetting, I can just scan it over and see everybody again. Well, what do the rest of the commission members think? I think that this is definitely a difficult choice for many of us. And I know that I think Artie and Stephen and possibly Bill and Peter are very set on their decision. So I'm definitely struggling with it because I'm hearing the homeowner with their concerns and understand what they have done on that property in the past and the invasive species and keeping that and making it a more vibrant wetland by removing some of the dead trees and planting some healthy trees, but dead trees are good for the habitat. So, I'm definitely struggling with it, but so I'm willing to go out and look at it. I would appreciate.
If you snag it and leave the tree there, I mean, it's not pretty, but all the little, animals will live in it and eat it, and it will become, it would naturally do that over time if it's
Well,
dead. So
yeah, I
what-
think that's-
what is the problem? I'm just curious about, because this is historic, I mean, I'm not trying to be, to break any rules here. I'm just asking a question.
I know, well, the rule typically is, no touching anything in the wetland, and then does it become a impact to a resource area? And maybe that's what it is. It's like we're saying that it's kind of a, not, you're
It's
not
not
filling the,
protecting the interest of the wetland.
and the protecting the interest is protecting the habitat, protecting.
But if it's dead already and it's going to fall, what is the harm in trimming it and letting it fall and leaving it there? What is the harm to the habitat? I mean, it might damage another tree. I understand that, but you could fall it in pieces. I'm just asking a technical question. What is the harm?
Well, I mean, it's different habitat for different animals when it's standing than when it's laying on the ground. Right? There's different species that use it.
Yeah, and I think there is 6 trees that we're talking about compared to, I think we're all probably fine with 2 of them. And there would be a snag being left, but I know that some of them, he felt like there couldn't be because there was a crack right at the base. I did see that tree when I was out there, and I don't think they could leave a snag because they really have to cut it at below the crack. But we've kind of now talked about this one for half an hour, so I'd like to, if people are willing, I would like to schedule a site walk. I will at least go. If anybody wants to join me, that would be great. So when works? Like, let's think about, would a weekend, would a weekday? We have a holiday coming up this week, but it turns out I'm happy to be around all week, so what works for you, Allison?
Would, this weekend, I'm not going to be here, but I am going to be here Monday, Tuesday, when I'm going to be here,
Okay, so I'm not around Monday, but I could be around Tuesday or Wednesday.
I could do a Tuesday morning. Or, because it gets dark so early.
Yeah, we do have, that is sort of a little thicket back there. It's not quite as dense as the other side, just given the, yeah.
John, are you talking to us? Maybe he wasn't meaning to talk to us.
I mean, the thing is that Janet, I mean, a site visit, if all the members disagree, there's no point to a site visit. If it's just one person, there's no point to it. I'm going to be overruled. So
I'm willing to go back and take another look.
All right. All right, Tuesday morning, does Tuesday morning work for you, Bill?
That's fine. Yep.
What time Tuesday morning?
Okay, well, how about like 8 o'clock?
Okay.
So,
Does that work for you, Brian and Susan?
so
That works for
Tuesday
me.
the 23rd. Tuesday the 23rd.
The 23rd, Tuesday, the 23rd, at
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning. Is that okay with the homeowner? Okay, so we will conduct a site.
That works for it. I would really like the people who disagree with this to please come, because I'd like you to actually see these trees and see the hazard that they do cause. I have 4 kids, and I'm not being unreasonable asking for this.
I believe you.
I know, it's more the people who disagree, I'd like them to come. I'd really like them to show up.
Well, we'll hopefully, if they're available, we will.
The people, everyone I believe has already been to the site and seen it. So it's not
Okay.
that we haven't been there and looked at it. So we have. So-
And Brian, if maybe you can get DP to arrive also. That
I'll
would
do
be.
my best and we'll certainly see if Chris, the arborist, can be there as well. I think.
Oh,
would
yeah,
be-
that would be great. All
Yep.
right. So, so for as far as continuing these 2 projects, do you want to continue them to the next hearing?
I think that would be good. Yeah.
Okay, and our next hearing is December 2nd. All right, so I'll take a motion. So we don't need a motion to do a site visit. We're just going to do the site visit Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And take a motion to continue 631 South Street, DP file number 234872, and 649 South Street, DP file number 234874, till December 2nd.
Janet, before we make a motion, could I just ask for one thing? So there's been a lot of talk about the path that's used between the properties. And I wonder if it was possible to actually delineate that very, very specifically on whatever plans, because that seems to be the crux of the argument, that there's a existing path that's being used.
It's a walkway that my kids have pretty much created going from their grandmother's house to my house. And
If
it's
that's something
not
to
a-
delineate.
okay,
I mean, if you could make it very clear what exactly that path is, that would be helpful in understanding, you know.
and if you come to the site, you can see it.
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay. So you
We
can,
can add it to the plan though.
Just add it to the plan so we know where the path is.
okay.
I mean, there's paths through wetlands all over town, so it's not like it, you know, that's, you know, happens all the time.
There are paths all around the reservoir. There are paths all around Ridgehill Reservation.
Yeah. There's
All over.
paths through wetlands all over the place, so, so that's fine, that there's a path at your yard, you have a path, that's fine. Okay,
But I move to
ready now,
continue. I'll move to
Thank
continue to
Have a
the next meeting, which is December
December
second,
2nd.
2nd.
have a second,
Second,
all in favor, Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Bill, Allison, Stephen,
aye.
and I think I got everybody. And Jen, okay, thank you very much, and we will be out there on Tuesday morning, whoever is available.
Great. Thank you for your time. Have a
Thank
good night.
you. Okay, to continue on, 12 and 18 Brookside Road, DP file number 234844. This is a continued request to amend the order of conditions. My understanding is that this was to add a soil test pit. Is that true? Chambers within much larger. Oh, wait, maybe my list. 12
So
and
they had changed the
18.
lot lines
John,
and
yep, John Rockwood, are you here and can you hear me? I saw you earlier. We cannot hear you at the moment. John Rockwood?
I'm here, Madam Chairman, John Glosson.
Great. Okay, John. And Gordon Russell? John, are you just on your own here?
Apparently, I see
Anybody
John
else?
Rockwood's name, but
I see his
did the
name and
soil
I
test.
heard him earlier. He must have gotten distracted.
Yeah.
Okay,
You want
so,
to do the soil test if those. if
yes,
you-
I think that was the idea. You needed to do a DP file, soil test, right?
Right, so we did it right at the location of the proposed infiltration chambers and found the elevation to, based on the elevation where we had the chambers to be, the chambers would be 2 feet 10 inches above the groundwater table. So there, not to bore you too much, but the gravel underneath is so good that what happens there is the water, it almost acts like a pipe, and the B layer is kind of holding it down. So once you get through the B layer, you see the bottom of the B layer is mottled, but the rest of it is not mottled. So, and it works out pretty, seems to make sense with the elevation of the wetlands and all. So
Okay, so that's what we were waiting for, right? Was the soil test?
that's my understanding.
Do we have, does anybody need to see the plan or anything? Any commission members? Does anybody need any additional information? Peter?
No.
Bill
No,
or Allison? Artie,
No, no need.
Stephen?
All set.
All right, so are we ready to close this hearing? And we'll be able to, because the idea is to issue request to amend. So we will be amending the order of conditions with the new plans that they have provided. Right? And are we adding anything to those order of conditions, or we're just now referencing a different plan with a different footprint of a house?
That was the main reason I asked them to request the amendment. So we
Okay.
had the lot lines on the record.
Lot lines, the house footprint,
Mhm.
everything is referenced on that amended order. Okay, so if we're ready to close the hearing, I'll take a motion to close.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? Peter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Allison,
Hi.
Artie,
Aye.
Stephen.
aye.
Yeah, aye. Great. Thank you very much for your patience, and we will be,
You can vote to
Discussing-
issue now if you would like. You don't really, there's no
because all we're doing
conditions
is
to review.
Okay, all right. So if we want to do, I can I have a motion to issue the amended order of conditions referencing the revised plan set.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Peter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Allison, Artie,
Aye.
Stephen,
aye.
Janet, aye. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the board. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Night, thank you.
Okay, 53 Wayne Road, DEP file number 234881. This is Dan Memot. Can you hear me? And you're there. Oh, and this is the great last name that I cannot possibly pronounce.
It's your challenge for the day. Karthik Balasubramaniam. Karthik is easy for.
I am just so impressed with that. I'm like, wow, that's quite an impressive last name with like so many vowels.
Indeed.
That's a great,
Um,
that's a great last name. I love that.
So,
All 15 letters. Yeah.
okay,
Awesome.
so 53 Wayne, 53 Wayne, were you also adding a test pit? You had a test pit. I scribbled my notes. Okay. Oh, but present your case. Were you waiting for a DB file number?
Yes, which I believe that we have.
Yes.
And I think there was a couple of things, because we didn't have that, the board asked us to add a couple things to the plan, which we did. And just clarify some information, I think.
Oh, the tree, the lawn.
Yep.
There was a bylaw fee, data form, patio. And something else that I can't read my writing on. Everything is in order, Deb and Clay?
Yep, submitted the revised plans. The tree was located outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. There was a patio added based on the conversation from last time. They showed the extent of a new patio. The limit of the patio is likely to be larger than what will actually be built. They showed it on
Is there a
the
plan that we can pull up?
Yep.
Great.
So the patio was added in back here.
Oh, that whole big thing is a patio?
So, if Clay, I'll explain if it's all right. So we haven't really designed the patio. So just as a generic kind of area, I kind of drew in that arch, and in speaking with the homeowners, we're likely to only probably do a much smaller patio on the side, but I just wanted to kind of cover, since we hadn't really decided which side of the house the patio would be on, I just kind of put a swath of space. But as Clay and I exchanged emails over the last couple of days, if you guys are amenable, we're happy to submit a final design to that when it's time, but that's likely not going to be till spring, for obvious reasons. I mean, we have a lot of work to do before we're getting to that point. So,
Okay.
And the unknown with the submitting that was just the specs to make sure that it was pervious patio. So when it comes time to build that, the final design should be submitted for our record and also show a spec that allows water to infiltrate through it.
And so that is the plan, that it's permeable patio?
Well, like I said, I'm happy, we haven't really even designed it or conceptualized it. So if that
Yes.
is in fact a requirement, then obviously we would adhere to that.
Yeah, well, it would be, it would be great if, because we're not actually sure what the area is, if you were able to make it a permeable patio, I would be very comfortable leaving it with this information as it's shown.
Yeah.
So in our, and the permeable patio is, you'll provide a detailed specification before you install it.
Right.
I think that would be okay. That will be part of the order of conditions. But you will want to make sure that it's permeable once it goes in, because if you come back looking for a certificate of compliance and it's not permeable, then that's, a whole nother issue that we
Sure.
don't want to get into. Any commission members have any comments regarding the additional information on this plan? Artie?
No.
Stephen?
All set.
Allison? Bill?
No comments.
Peter?
All set.
Okay, so we have everything we need, and we will condition the permeable paver patio, and I'm looking for, oh, is anybody in the audience? I forgot to ask that the last time. Is there anybody in the audience that has any comments regarding this one?
There are no raised hands.
Great. So can I have a motion to close 53 Wayne Road, DP file number 234881?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Peter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Allison,
Hi.
Artie,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
and I. Great, thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank you.
adding that additional information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great, thanks. Next, 144 Brookside Road, DP file number 234879. And you had a file number last time. Oh, wait, where's my list? 144. This one is different. Megan Collins and Artie Rappy. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Great. Artie, you're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here.
Great. We're both here. All right. Tell us your story.
So the commission requested that we had to do a test where we were putting the drainage field. George, the soil evaluator, went there and found the soils to be suitable for drainage. It was a filled area, but was gravel fill, so it shouldn't be a problem. Another thing that you requested was because we were cutting one tree, we wanted to propose 2 trees to replace that one tree. One cherry tree, weeping cherry tree is proposed to be cut, and we have revised the plan to show 2 cherry trees to be planted instead, and they are within the 100-foot buffer.
Great, thank you. Is there, Clay, can you pull up a plan for this one? Okay, great. And the soil test pit is?
It's right
where?
where the soil test pit is right at the location next to the existing gravel driveway.
Where it says proposed lawn?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So just for the record, make sure we have kind of heard, maybe in the meeting notes, that the test pit was located in the gravel driveway.
Yeah, and there are pictures that were
I
provided.
have it also in the order, Janet.
Okay, great. Any commission members have any questions on this one? Bill?
No further, no comments.
Stephen?
All set. Thank you.
Peter?
I'm good.
Allison?
No?
Artie?
Good.
Okay, did I ask everybody? Okay, so anybody in the audience have any comments or questions?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, homeowner have any comments or questions? Okay, so we're ready to close this hearing? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Allison?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Stephen?
aye.
Yeah, aye, great. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking care of that test pit.
Thank you.
So we have to, everybody has to sign. We'll do the order tonight and then it has to go in the garage and everybody will sign it and hopefully we'll move that process along. Deb will get it to you.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much. Thanks for
Thank you.
your time.
luck.
Everybody. Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is 78 Elder Road, DP file number 234880. Elder Road, Diane, is Diane here? Great.
Yep, I'm here.
And Michael Trematozzi?
Yes,
Yep.
I'm here.
Great. Okay, and this is 78 Elder Road, DP file number 24. I already said that. Okay, ready.
Okay, so we were awaiting our DEP file number and we did have our test pits on our plan. We made a few changes. We had a typo and we the engineer had moved the infiltration system in the front of the parcel. So we showed that in the accurate location. And I think other than that, everything else was the same.
Great. Do we need, Clay, do we need to look at that plan or is that pretty straightforward? I remember
That was
you had
mine. I
that.
only had one question when I was drafting. Is there a north arrow on the plan that I'm just missing?
You know what? I didn't bring it with me this evening because I thought it was, I'll check on that. And if it is not there, I will add it and submit an updated plan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any commission members have any questions or comments? Stephen?
No comment.
Allison? Bill?
Aye.
Peter?
No comment.
Oh, no
Artie?
comment, sorry.
That's okay. We got it. We understood. Artie?
No comment.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments?
There are no raised hands.
Great. So if we have everything we need, can we can I have a motion to close the hearing? And homeowner, do you have any questions or comments?
Oh, thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close. So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Allison?
Aye.
Bill?
No comment. I mean, aye.
You're just trying to keep us on our toes. Peter?
Aye.
Artie?
Aye.
Stephen, did I ask you
Aye.
already, Stephen? Yeah, aye. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking care of that test pit before you actually filed. Okay, 463 South Street, request for determination of applicability. 463 South Street. Do I not have anybody on 463 South Street on my little list here?
Good evening. Sorry. My name is Tom Schutz. I'm with Goddard Consulting. I'm here on behalf of the applicant.
All right. Okay, so do I know anything about this one? This was not a continuation. This is a new one, right? Okay.
Yeah, this was a little bit of
Oh.
we pushed this application in a little bit, not late, but we put it in a little later than expected, just because me and Deb went on a site walk in early November, and she requested that we filed an RDA for the project after the
Okay.
site walk and the inspection.
Okay, so is there a plan that we,
Yep. Do you mind if I share my screen?
let's go right ahead.
Okay. So as far as this goes, it's a bit of a convoluted past for this 449 South Street over here. There's a non-jurisdictional ditch that runs through the backyard. And when we were putting up the plan, we originally said that there was no jurisdictional resources in the area. And the commission went out and saw this ditch in the backyard, and previously it had been flagged by another wetland consultant saying that this was a jurisdictional ditch. It was an intermittent stream, and it was hydrologically connected to a large BVW system that's out behind 28 Mars Street, which is another street behind this house here. The applicant is proposing a tear down and rebuild of a single family house that's existing right now at 463 South Street. Here's the plans for it. We have a siltation fence here to prevent any erosion or any silt from entering the large BVW system that's over 250 feet away from the house right here. As far as we could tell, that was outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to it, and it's outside of, there's no perennial streams located within 200 feet of the locus. Here we have an ortho photo. Here's 28 Mars Street again. Here's the large BVW system. This is a GIS map with DEP wetlands shown on the front of it. We have the large BVW system back here, and we have another BVW system here. Both the house itself is both outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. The jurisdictional ditch that's in question is actually running through the backyard of the 449 South Street here. It's kind of hard to see. You can't really see for exactly, but it runs essentially right down here and then through the back of the property and close to 28 Mars Street. Again, we were concerned, or Deb was concerned, that this ditch was hydrologically connected to the large BVW system over here. As you can see, the forest is dominated by white pines. That's what you see all the way over here, which is an upland species, noting that this area probably is not considered a wetland area. We have the white pines also over here, and this area was dominated by Norway maple. We also had some spruce. We have some knotweed, hay-scented fern, blackberries and such. Here we have the USGS map. This is 28 Mars Street right here. This is 449 South Street. And then our locus is just a little bit off. So our locus wasn't built exactly before the USGS map was made. So our house isn't shown on this USGS map. But as you can see, there's no actual wetlands shown on the USGS. We just have this brook, which is very far off from 28 Mars Street, which is far away from the locus site. So on our site walk, we walked through and we looked at the ditch itself. Here's a couple of pictures of the ditch behind the house of 449 South Street. As you can see, it looks like it's a hand dug ditch. Here's lawn, and it's abutting the ditch directly. And both grades on this side are exactly the same, suggesting that it was a hand dug ditch at one point to convey stormwater off South Street when it ran down the property and over the driveway, which we'll see in a second, and then off site. So it wouldn't pool in the backyard over here. Here we have another, oh, sorry, I don't know if it changed. Here we have another just a image of the ditch itself so you can see what it looks like. We have the lawn, we have upland grasses, blackberry, we have a black cherry right here. We have some Norway maple in the background, all upland species. So this is the main hydrologic, this is why all hydrology on 449 South Street exists. This is a storm drain that actually drains from the roof of the house itself, and it drops right onto the ground here, and all water kind of pools around and works its way down. There's no defined channel here, so it works its way into the forest, down the grass, and then eventually, if it makes it there, it'll go into the ditch, and then it'll either dry up or just kind of sit there for a little while. It actually doesn't make its way down into any further past about halfway through the ditch itself. As you can see, again, there's no actual defined channel up here, suggesting that it was hand dug throughout the backyard. Here we have South Street over here, and this is the abutter's driveway, and it's a downward pitch from the actual street itself. There was a historic document that documented the storm water as it ran down South Street. It would run over the driveway here, down the driveway, and then into the area that we just noted before, this area here, and it would flow into the backyard. So they dug this ditch in order to stop the pooling of it, because we have this severe downward grade from the road onto the property at 449 South Street. Here we see some rocks that have been washed out of the permeable pavement itself. As you can see, this wash zone, and then the water obviously had eroded this little section of driveway, pulling out some of this gravel itself. and running into the little, into the forested area over here, and then eventually onto the grass. So as the ditch goes off of 449 South Street, it ends up going towards the southern section of 28 Mars Street. And this is where Deb would essentially think that this was a hydrologically connected to the large BVW system behind the 28 Mars Street. Here we have an inlet. This is a culvert at the end of the ditch. This is on the southern end of Mars Street. Here is the house itself. So they constructed this culvert at some point, and this culvert is actually higher than the end of the ditch. It's hard to see in these pictures, but this culvert is higher than the grade down here. So no water could actually make its way into the culvert if it even wanted to. It would have to have a pool of 2 feet water if it actually to actually get any water inside of the ditch itself.
So, sorry, where the culvert looks like it's coming into the ditch. You said it's going out of the ditch?
This is part of the problem. So as the ditch came down from 449 South Street, it had a downward pitch of the 449 South Street has a downward pitch of the backyard, and it makes its way down here. And this is actually the lowest point of the entire area. And then the grade raises up to here, which is where the culvert is. So this culvert is essentially useless in any hydrologic connection at all. As you can see, again, here's some bramble. We have the knotweed. This has also had some dewberry around it. There's no wetland plants in this area. So all upland. So from this, we respectfully ask that the commission grants a negative determination of applicability, showing that this was actually not a jurisdictional intermittent stream. It's just a ditch that somebody dug at some point to convey stormwater from their house off their property so it didn't pool in their yard.
Okay, can I talk?
Absolutely.
Sure. And if you could bring up a plan, that would be helpful.
Play if you.
This is our plan view here.
Okay.
Now, Deb,
So
ready.
let me give you some background.
Yep.
So Carr Research had flagged all the wetlands in this area, I think like in 2000 or something. So there is an existing wetland on the property next door that connects to the ditch. So there was the potential, and it was flagged, that the wetland, is adjacent to this ditch, and that it may connect with the larger wetland to the rear. And that's how it was delineated by Dr. Carr. So there's conservation restrictions based on this ditch being jurisdictional. And there's several notice of intents that were filed, an ANRAD that was filed documenting this ditch as being jurisdictional. So when they started this project on the house next door, we got a letter from Goddard stating that there was no wetland resources within 200 feet. Since we have a lot of history with the two properties on Mar, 28 and 25, I knew that there were wetland resource areas. So Clay and I went out and met with the builder, and very nice guy, wants to do the right thing. He had already removed some trees in the back right-hand corner of the property. So we asked him to stop while we looked into this. So going back and looking at all the records, it doesn't appear that there was another delineation done in this area since Dr. Carr did his delineation. So all of the notices and the ANRAD were piggybacked onto this delineation that he had done. So there is kind of a gray area as to whether the ditch actually has to convey water to another resource area to make that wetland a bordering vegetated wetland. Otherwise, it would be an isolated wetland and their project would be more than 100 feet away from the wetland. It's the ditch that is the question at this point. So I did contact DEP for a clarification. And I did hear back later today, but just based on all of the notice of intents and orders and ANRADs declaring this ditch as jurisdictional, I would like to continue this so that I can do a little more research before we determine that it's not.
Okay.
If I may,
Certainly.
I think we,
Janet, do you mind? Janet, do you mind if I mean,
Well,
Janet, you've talked, Deb's talked, Tom, you've talked. Could we maybe have it between us? Janet, because I know.
okay, let me just let
Yep.
Tom just say his one thing and then we will go through the commission.
if I may, so this wetland that Deb is talking about here, this isolated wetland, let me just pull up this picture here. Not this one. These pictures here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the wetland itself is directly to the left of this picture on here, which is 100 feet away. And the only way to make it a bordering vegetated wetland and not an isolated wetland is if it has a hydrologic connection. And the only way they can have a hydrologic
I know
connection
that's
is
not
the ditch.
necessarily true is what I've heard.
Okay,
So that's what I want to determine.
okay. So now let's have the commission talk. Artie, you had something?
No, it's really just that, we've heard a lot stated, and Deb at the very beginning wanted to state, but didn't get in there. And we don't know what the we don't know what the outcome is going to be, but clearly there's some history going on, and Deb has to do some research. So I have nothing to say until we hear, personally, until we hear more from what Deb finds, digs up.
Okay, any other commission members? Stephen, you have anything to add?
I just wanted to ask Deb, and I'm fine with waiting. I think that's a great idea so Deb can do her due diligence. But Deb, from your site visits, these photos, I'm not a wetland scientist, but it doesn't look like this. This is a hydrological ditch or something that's natural. Do you think that this is contrary to what Tom is purporting it to be?
No, I've looked back in the files and I know that the ditches were dug. They're not natural features. There isn't a picture of the actual wetland here, but we did walk and the vegetation was showing that there is a wetland there. So the question is whether it remains isolated. The ditches were dug previously to help drain water away from the property. A lot of it was coming off of South Street onto the property. So I need to determine, I've heard recently that there doesn't need to be a hydrological connection between this ditch and another wetland for it to potentially be jurisdictional.
Okay.
And as I said, this was part of the original delineation, called it out as being jurisdictional, and the wetlands, an ANRAD was filed and approved by the commission, that there is a connection between this wetland and the ditch. So I let the builder continue his work. Most of the work would be outside of our jurisdiction anyways, just like the back corner of the property where the trees were removed. But the structure itself, they needed to do a demo and it's a rebuild. So I let him continue with that and asked that they file an RDA to get an actual document stating whether this is jurisdictional or not, because of all the surrounding properties and what that means for the future as far as air permitting goes.
Yep.
So I need more time to find out essentially if it's isolated or if it would be considered bordering.
'Cause one of my
Fine.
confusions was exactly where that ditch is on that plan that we were just looking at. My opinion is that there have definitely been a lot of wetlands in this vicinity, and I know that I was part of the whole Mar Road stuff, and I agree that, like, I want you to do your research because I know that there's a significant amount of wetlands in that area and whatever the connection might be. And I also want to make sure that they're not going to change that ditch, even if we decide it's not hydraulically connected, they can't change it because the stormwater still has to go from point A to point B without.
Yeah, well, this isn't even their property, so they're
Okay.
not gonna be doing anything to the ditch.
And they're not touching the ditch. You're just trying to determine if it's jurisdictional.
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Peter, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, is this a question of doing a new delineation potentially, or will the research that Deb does sort of be
I
the,
think
be the
it's,
answer?
the goal is to determine the jurisdictional, like the, what we're calling this, if this is a wetland resource, so that any other project in this neighborhood, we're looking at the same thing. Is that right, Deb?
Right, because all we have on record right now says that it's jurisdictional.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree
We
with,
need to prove whether it's not jurisdictional anymore, if it never was. So that's why I asked for this RDA so that we could start that process.
So we're not, and we're not holding up his project at all.
No.
We're just trying to figure out, so it's almost like we're getting a negative determination, but you want to make sure whether it's a
So the
nothing.
RDA is simply to prove if that is jurisdictional. The RDA doesn't have anything to do with the project. It's literally just to prove if this is a jurisdictional ditch or
And
not.
if it's jurisdictional, does the applicant have to do something different
If
than they're
it's
doing?
jurisdictional, then we would have them delineate it. And, you know, I don't even think he's started the demo yet. I don't think we've signed off on it. I don't know. But if they haven't gotten too far along in the project, then we would probably have them file for whatever would be in our jurisdiction. Unless it was just like tree removal that we could, you know, handle administratively, but.
Okay. Allison, did you have anything to
Deb,
add?
I have a question since you've been there.
Mhm.
Can you tell if this ditch that clearly was dug, which doesn't really matter, feeds the wetland on the adjacent property?
No, it doesn't appear that it does.
Okay, that's interesting.
Bill, did you have anything to add?
I'm just curious, when the engineer was out there, or when Goddard was out there, is there any vegetation, or you said they didn't delineate it, but was any general hydric soil, looking at hydric soils or of the
They
ditch
didn't.
itself?
So they had determined, their letter stated there was no jurisdiction within 200 feet. So they didn't even, you know, look at this area. And then I met with Tom out there. I'd met with Clay out there previously, and kind of, you know, went through the whole area with Tom. And so there wasn't any that I know of, any.
There's no obvious vegetation between the two.
Bill, I also did do soil samples when I went out there the first time to determine if there was any wetlands, and the soil came up as a lot of bright orange upland soils, 10YR56, throughout the whole area adjacent to the house, behind the house, between where the white pine forest was, where I showed on the ortho. So we had upland soils throughout this whole area here, and I didn't want to delineate anything farther back into this property because obviously that wasn't the applicant's property. And I didn't want to, well, I poked a hole right on that property line here, and we had no hydric soils at all, no modeling. No
Well,
nothing. It was
there
just-
wouldn't have been hydric soils there anyways, because the wetland's on the other side of the ditch.
Agreed, but then I don't understand how this is be or a connected wetland or have any hydrology if there's no hydric soils and there's no vegetation that indicates there's a wetland.
Well, it's a conveyance.
Well, we know there's a wetland on the other side of the ditch.
And
Right.
I'm not arguing that at all. I pointed that out in the beginning. It's right here. It's greater than 200 feet away from our property.
No, I'm not talking about there. I'm talking about on the property with the ditch. There's a
And
wetland
that's
right in the
also
middle.
over 100 feet away from the locust site,
Exactly.
which we did see on the site walk together.
Is there an elevate? I'm just curious, is there an elevation difference between the wetland and the ditch? Is it relatively?
The ditch is lower, yeah.
So we're
Significant?
we're gonna hold this until Deb does her due diligence and can determine her findings. I think that's where we're at. Do we need a vote?
Janet,
on-
Janet, may I ask something? What I'm
Yes,
just
you may.
cursing, so on the ditch, man-made, looks like it's been there for a while, I don't know how many years, but at what point does it matter if it was man-made or not, or becomes natural? How much does that even matter? And at what point, how many years down the road, it simply becomes a part of the natural topography, natural flow anyway? So how much does that matter anyway?
Well, it just depends. If it's a conveyance that is feeding a wetland, then it becomes a resource area because it's literally the conveyance. But it's not a pipe. Like a pipe wouldn't count, but it's an open area. So.
I mean, it's essentially an intermittent stream channel.
Right.
So anyways, that's where we're at.
But that's what we want to be comfortable because there'll be other projects in this
And
area.
just because the only information we have calls it jurisdictional. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know that 28 Mar Road has tried, they were trying to do tennis courts and various things in their property that we did not allow because of the wetlands that were there, because they were too close to the wetlands. So I'm just looking at that, and maybe it's the wetland behind, but I know that there was a lot of conversation, and now there's a permeable pavement on the Mar Road, and maybe that's changed how much water was flowing through there along the way. And so there was a lot of work done because of the amount of wetlands that were there when that Mar Road was constructed. So, and if Dr. Carr considered it a wetland in 2000, only 21 years ago. I think Scott Gardner maybe worked for him then.
Yeah, I know, really.
He probably was the one that flagged it the first time. I don't know. All right, so we will, I guess that we're just gonna continue this, because this is not, like, we don't vote on it at this moment, do we? Or do we? Or
You're
do-
gonna vote to continue it to 12/12.
We're gonna vote to continue this to December 2nd.
I move that we continue 463 South Street to December 2nd.
Second.
All in favor? Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Allison. And were we supposed to ask the audience if anybody in the audience had anything to add?
I don't see any.
Probably.
Okay, you don't see anybody. Well, that works though. December 2nd. Great. All right. So thank you very much for your presentation. That was very helpful.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
You too. Bye. Okay, we have other business. We're up to 21 Cedar Springs Lane, DP file number 234259. This is a request for a certificate of compliance. My understanding, it's a request for a partial certificate of compliance, maybe. So 21, who's here for 21? And I guess I don't have it on my list.
This is Artie from Chain Engineering. We did the as-built conditions for the site.
Okay.
What's happening is that the order of conditions 26 years ago, when it was issued for 4 properties altogether. And as they got developed, there was no different DEP numbers issued for each one of the properties. Subsequently, the homeowners, when they purchased the property, they did not realize that there were conditions that were put to the builder in order to close the order of conditions. And now they have the sale for the property. There is already a buyer. And kind of last minute thing, we prepared the plan showing the existing conditions. There are some changes that has happened on the property. Most of them are outside the 100-foot buffer. Like, for example, the house is closer to the 100-foot buffer or at the edge of the buffer. The driveway is on the left-hand side instead of the front. The garage is higher on elevation. The top of concrete is higher, but they're all outside jurisdiction, but we pointed them out. The biggest one that on my discussions with Deb was the concern about the requirement to have a minimum of 4 bounds set at the limit of work. On the plans that were present or that we obtained from conservation, it appears that the erosion control barrier is at the property line. So what we noticed is that that there is a sewer that has been installed beyond the property, and that property is owned by town of Needham now. That the lawn has extended all the way up to where the sewer is beyond the property line. One of the requirement that was stated at that time on the order of conditions mentions that a minimum of 4 bounds have to be set. It doesn't specify on which lot or where, but it says that at the limit of work and after the bounds have been set, a plan needs to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The plan is already recorded at the Registry of Deeds showing the parcel that is owned by the town. And since the requirement would be to show that there is wetlands on an area, we were thinking that if we can get a partial certificate of compliance, so that the new owners can purchase the property, and the condition would be that we add 1 or 2 bounds on this lot so that the commission feels comfortable with issuing a full certificate for this project. That would be ideal, and we would hope that the commission works with us on that.
Well, I think the full certificate of compliance has to be on all 4 properties. So all 4 properties need to be in agreement, and they all need to sign it. I think there's a signature involved of property owners, I assume. And markers have to be along the entire limit of work. The 4 properties, there's 4 markers at least between all 4 properties. And so this property on its own cannot get a full certificate of compliance without the other 3 properties in line, right?
Okay.
That makes sense, right? They all 4 have to go together to get a full certificate. So for this one to get a partial, I think they need at least a marker, because they have to show that they're doing their part as
Agreed.
Have a marker on their property.
Is there a preference from the commission where they would like to see that bound to be set?
I think at the 2 back property corners.
2 back property corners, okay. Is it, so again, we will not be getting a full certificate of compliance tonight. We were gonna be getting a partial certificate anyway. Is it possible that we can get a partial tonight just so that they can sell the property? And before the next meeting, I'll have the bounds set and provided you with a plan, an as-built plan showing the bounds set.
Can we issue a partial without the right plan? I don't know that we're allowed to do that.
Clay's put a lot of time into researching this too, so he might have some input.
Clay, you have an opinion on whether we're allowed to issue a partial certificate on a project that we don't have a plan for that shows the bounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's up to your discretion, but I think the two options would be to issue the certificate, the partial certificate, contingent on having the bounds go in, which I'm not sure how you feel about that versus.
Well, I just feel like I don't even know how we do that, because it's like you don't, once you issue a certificate, it's kind of, our hands are washed of it. We have no hold.
Well, you will have a hold, you will have hold because it's still a partial. It's not a full certificate, it's just a partial certificate.
But I think the partial would kind of absolve lot 9 specifically. So I think in an instance like this, where you have a 4-house subdivision that was all filed as one, when you issue the partial, it'll read within there that all work for lot 9 was completed satisfactorily, and it essentially releases just lot 9, which is now 21 Cedar Springs Lane.
Right, but if we issue a partial tonight before the markers are in, they have not satisfied their condition. So once we issue a partial for this particular lot, we have washed our hands of this lot, basically. And that's what you just said. We've said that they're done and we don't have a marker. So how do we have a marker? And I just don't know that we can issue a certificate without having a marker. I mean, that was the idea.
How about having, I'm assuming that the new buyers are online. To make the sale possible on Monday, can we have Deb write an email just stating that upon providing an as-built plan showing the bounds on the 2 rear corners, a partial certificate will be issued? Is that something that
Did you
can
ask
help?
me this the last project? Was this the last, didn't we do this on the last project?
I don't believe so.
Wasn't you? That was somebody else that asked that favor?
I don't know if it works. I don't know if that would put you guys in some kind of jeopardy. It's just for helping with the closing of the property, that's all.
I know, everybody wants to help closing with the property. How long has this property owner known that their markers didn't exist?
I would say like a week ago, a week or 2 weeks ago. A week ago is when we finished the survey. We couldn't find the bounds. We were looking for a limit of work that was different from what was on the plan because it didn't make sense. That is at the property line that you need to put the bounds. But we got.
How hard is it to put bounds in? What do you have to do? What's the process?
So we got to go to Millis, pick up 2 granite posts. We'll go with shovels and dig down, or with a mini excavator and dig down 3 feet, put the bounds, cover it, locate it, and revise the plan showing the as-built. So we can definitely have it for the next hearing. That's not a problem. Just that we got confirmation from the commission yesterday saying if you put the bounds in, then we'll issue it. But today, I've been doing testing all day. So even right now I'm waiting for the perk to finish in Dover for a septic. That's why I'm still in the car.
Oh, you're perk testing in the dark?
Well, it's taking more than 60 minutes per inch. It's close to 70, but we got to know exactly what is going to end up so that they can upgrade the house.
And just to clarify, I don't think we said that they would issue it. We can't make that decision.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, well, I told Clay that if the bounds were in today, we could issue it tonight, but if the bounds aren't in today, then I have a hard time issuing it. So I'll leave this up to the rest of the commission, how they feel. We have a 26 year, is it 1995? So that's even more than 26 years. That's a lot. Isn't it 1995? The plan was done in 1995. There's 4 lots. This is a street off of Central Ave near Newman. And the builder was supposed to put bounds in as well as give some conservation land to the town of Needham. The conservation land does appear to have been given to the town of Needham, but the bounds are not in, and the property owners are now extending their lawns onto town of Needham property. So this one lot wants to close. The other 3 lots are not involved, but they need to have all 4 lots to get a full certificate of compliance, and the full certificate goes with 4 bounds being put along the property boundary. So what do we want to do for this one lot that wants to close on Monday?
You should probably discuss the previous lots that tried to get partials.
Supposedly in 1996, 2 of the other lots, it was a different commission. 2 of the other lots tried to go ask for partials, and they were denied by this commission, but it was none of these people. So we're a whole different commission. However many years later, 30 years later, and we can make a different choice if we choose. So I'm up to hear what anybody's opinion is on whether we provide this property owner with a partial and require Artie to get monuments in and give us a plan in the next week, but we have no hold. Once we issue it, we issue it. So
What does it mean to issue it, Janet? I mean, it's a piece of paper, right? That we have to
the
give
piece
them.
of paper so that when they go to their closing on Monday, they have no legal,
So
outstanding.
could we, like Clay said, could we vote to do it? And then Clay or Deb will not give them the paper until Artie submits the plan. And if it's as easy to put the bounds in as he says, he could do that tomorrow or Saturday and get the plan to Deb on Monday.
Artie, you ready to get those monuments in before Monday?
I can't promise because I don't even have the bounds. I have to go and
Well,
pick them up.
I'm trying to help you out, man. That's it.
Yeah,
No
we were
go.
trying to help you out yesterday.
So I agree. What I'm saying is issue the partial certificate with a condition that it's not to be given until we have provided a plan with the bounds on it. So if it is that we can provide it to you on Monday, then Deb can issue it on Monday. If it is that we provide it on Tuesday, then we'll issue it on Tuesday. If that's got to postpone the closing for one day, then that's what they got to do. I mean, what can I say?
All right, so you're gonna postpone that closing until that plan is in our hands.
Yeah, so let's give the certificate, the parcel tonight, but don't hand it until we have given the plan.
Okay, and so that closing doesn't happen until it's in our hands. The plan
That's
is in
correct.
our hands. Okay,
The certificate doesn't get issued until you have the plan at your hands.
I am willing to, Clay, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, there are people in the audience that would like to speak on this. I believe either related to the sellers or to the buyers.
Okay, let me you can pull them up and I'll go through the commission first. Okay, Artie, you have anything to add? You're on mute.
Just a question. So legally, I mean, I'm sure we've been through this before. I just want to confirm legally, we're saying, yes, here is the partial order. We're giving it to you, but we've voted to give it to you. But doesn't that mean legally we voted? And can we put conditions on it? Legally, we voted yes, but
Right, but there's a piece of paper that we still have to sign.
Yep.
That has to come to my garage and we have to sign it. And they won't have it in hand until Deb has the plan in hand, which we have done for order of conditions in the past, is that she holds them until the plan.
I'm fine. I just want to make sure, the legality.
We have done that
Yeah,
before.
it makes sense. I just want to make sure, that's all.
Steve, you have any comment?
Comment.
Allison? Bill?
If it's okay with the staff, I guess sometimes conservation office can turn into a real estate office, which I know can be demanding. So if it's okay, I'd like to really hear from the staff on this one. If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Deb and Clay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with working out with the logistics of that, kind of at your will. I know that they are pressed for this, and it took a while to pull the historical file. This has been, quite an undertaking. I guess it just comes down to whether the commission is comfortable with issuing pending receipt of something, making the motion, but holding the document. I think staff is happy to do whatever you recommend, and we're prepared to kind of go whatever decision is made.
Debbie, you would agree with that?
This was kind of more on Clay's plate, so
Okay.
I'll refer to him.
Peter, you have anything?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, in the audience.
Okay, so we have Amy Wheel, and I will move her over.
Amy Will, please state your name and for the record, and you have the floor.
Sure. My name's Amy Weil, actually.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You were
so-
my attorney too. I should have.
There you go. I'm a real estate attorney in Wellesley at Kurtzman and Weil. I've been dealing with Clay on this. I represent the sellers on this property. We've already delayed our closing. What I'd like to propose, and appreciate everything that the commission has said and done for this family that's lived in town for 26 years and really didn't know about this until they went to sell their property. Really should have been taken care of by the builder at the time. So they were surprised by this. I'm wondering if the commission would agree that if I, as counsel for the seller, held back, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 at closing in my escrow, if they would issue the partial certificate of compliance, so the closing can get done on Monday. It's already been delayed once, and I would love for them to have a relaxing Thanksgiving. And again, I would sign an escrow letter that I'd be holding that money, so that I already turned in the plans and did the balance.
We can talk about that. Before we have that conversation, is there anybody else in the audience want to speak? Clay?
I don't. Oh, there's another hand, and I will leave Amy in here as well for now.
Great, thank you.
John Du Bois.
Thanks, Clay.
He should be coming over now.
Is it John Du Bois?
Yep, hi, I'm John Du Bois. I'm actually, Heidi, my wife, and I own the house, and we've been tremendously fortunate to have moved into Needham 26 years ago and have had wonderful lives here. And we were blindsided by this whole situation. We love Needham to the point where we're moving and downsizing and staying in Needham. And we're excited about a new family coming into Needham to experience life and raising their family as we did. And I think all we wanted to do is give them the peace of mind that this will go through, and we're feeling very comfortable taking care of the responsibility financially and everything. We just wanted to make sure that this wasn't delayed beyond where there was a discomfort with the sale in general. So we thank the commission for giving this consideration for the partial certificate, and really hope that a new family can come into Needham and appreciate it as much as we have. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your statements. Unfortunately, it puts us slightly in an awkward position because we are now having to lean on Cheney Engineering to do their part. And
Well, Janet, I would do a lot of leaning because they're going to be holding my client's money. I'm pretty good at leaning.
Yeah, we don't usually run that way.
Okay.
It's not usually how, we don't usually operate with the attorneys getting involved with these things.
Okay. I was trying to be a little creative.
I appreciate that because, it is something that has happened in the past, is that people hand money and say, you're going to do your inspections in the year and here's our monitoring, and the wetland scientists are signed on for the next couple of years. So anybody have an opinion?
We do one more hand as well.
What, one more hand?
We
Bring
do.
them in.
All right, I'm moving over Nicole Pincos.
Nicole, you have the floor. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. I'm Nicole Pincos. I am actually the buyer's attorney from Horning and Simone. So I figured I should chime in.
Chime in.
And so if the commission is willing to issue that partial release with that condition for the bounds to be done as soon as possible. I mean, I do have to confirm with the buyer. I texted them. I just haven't heard back. I think he's on. He should be on this as well as somewhere in the audience. But I think that would be something that as a closing attorney we'd be okay with, knowing that we're holding a chunk of the seller's money and they're gonna get it done. If that's something that you all are open to, I do think that's something that the buyers will be willing to go ahead and close. I do have to confirm with them, but we want it done. The buyer does not want to take on any of the responsibility. They want to make sure everything's protected. It's a good, this is going to be a good deal for them. So we're definitely may want to make sure it's done. So but they want to close. So they're sympathetic to the seller wanting to close too. So if we do get something saying, yes, you're going to issue it and all that's left is these bounds, I do think the buyers would be very open to going ahead and closing, and we'd be holding some of the proceeds in escrow until it is done.
Yeah,
So
well,
who gets the money if the on the escrow does the money come to the Conservation Commission if the work is not done?
So the idea behind that money is that if the seller doesn't finish it up, that the buyers could use that money to hire someone else to finish out the job. So that
What if the buyers don't do that?
We could have our escrow
Well,
agreement, Nicole, say that we
That's
would
what
give it.
happens in these cases. People just walk away and forget about it. And
Well,
so
I know-
$3,000 is nothing to me. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to do anything.
I don't disagree. We have escrow money that sits forever, so I don't disagree with you on that. I know for this buyer, it's not something he wants, that they want it clean, because when they go to sell, if you haven't handed over that partial, if you're holding it until that work is done, that's fine too. If we know it's signed and you're just waiting for this last step to be completed, they want
Well,
it
it
done.
just is
Because,
not going to be signed for your closing on Monday.
I know, well,
understand
but
that.
if you're telling us that all that's left to get that finished signing out and hand it over is putting in those bounds, and we have something confirming that that's all that's left, and that there's not something, the concern with the buyers is, well, what if there's one more thing? And they don't want to be having that risk either. But they don't want it hanging over, because when they go to sell, if it's not resolved, it's going to come back again on them. So they don't.
So tonight, if the commission is willing to vote on this as a partial tonight, however, there's going to be a paper involved that we all have to sign, that piece of paper we're not willing to hand over until those bounds are in. So as the attorneys that are on this, if you're willing to hear that, you can hear us vote and know that it's on the record, it's in the meeting minutes. You just won't have that paper on Monday, because Artie's not going to get those bounds in before Monday. So you won't have the paper.
Yep,
until
I would be agreeable to that, Nicole, if you are.
I mean, I can't bind, I have to confer with my clients, and they'll close as soon as, so that's, I
Or they
believe
can
they
wait,
will,
yeah.
but.
Or they can choose to wait for the closing until
it's done.
It's done, and you have the piece of paper.
But at least if they know this is an option, that then, yes, if they say yes, then that's, I know that's something the seller wants. I just have to consult with my client to confirm that.
So I think, Steve was making the point very clearly that what the buyer and seller and two lawyers decide as far as holding money back or don't hold the money back, that's not going to weigh really as part of our decision. It's not effective.
That's not going to,
That's not part. If you want to do it, probably makes some sense. Your call. Not the money. We have no jurisdiction on any of that anyway. So we can vote on, as Janet was saying, what we're going to do. And I think it's pretty clear that you are going to get it when those bounds are in place. And I think it's pretty clear that Artie is going to be very motivated to get those in. And so I see it's going to happen. And as you said, as the buyer's attorney, you have to confirm. And the seller's attorney, Amy, is already here confirming, and John's the buyer, seller anyway, confirming. So again, as Stephen has made it clear, we only have one thing we only have one thing we care about: getting those bounds in before we hand over the paper.
Right, so we don't really care what the closing happens. But we can vote on a partial, but we will not hand that piece of paper over until Artie has handed Deb and Clay the plan that shows the monuments in. All right, everybody knows where we're going, and hopefully the Du Bois will tell their neighbors that they should get other monuments in at the same time so that they can get a whole full send notes to the neighbors. So every time they close, they can figure it out. All right. So with all of that conversation, is there anybody else that has anything to add? Anybody else in the audience?
No other hands.
Anybody, any commission members have any comments? Okay, so are we ready to make a motion to issue a partial certificate for 21 Cedar Springs Lane, DP file number 234T259? It is only a partial certificate of compliance, and it will only be issued in paper, hard copy, when the monuments are in the ground. Can I have a motion? Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Peter?
Aye.
Allison? Artie? You're on mute.
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Bill, did I ask you?
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of your contributions.
Thank you.
Good luck with the new house.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. Okay, 135 Maple Street, DP file number 234781, a request for a certificate of compliance. I hope this one's easier. Where are we?
Sorry, should I start or should I?
Yeah, say your name for the record, please.
All right, my name's Jamie Iannelli, and I'm the consultant for Andrew Adams. I was here a few years ago doing the initial permitting for the project under my maiden name, Jamie Walker, if that rings any bells. And then about a year ago, my colleague, Ryan Hale, had took over for me because I had a baby and was all over the place. And he obtained a partial certificate of compliance at that time. And that was for the demolition and reconstruction of the condo itself. And then now I'm coming back in order to close out and hopefully get a complete certificate of compliance for the mitigation plantings that were planted to make up for trees that were removed as part of the project. So I did do the second annual monitoring on September 18th of this fall. My colleague Ryan Hale had done the monitoring the first year of monitoring. Last, I have his report here. It was last October. And he noted that 18 trees and 8 shrubs were planted. We had promised in the order of conditions 16 trees and 16 native shrubs. When I went out this particular site visit, I actually saw a third or an additional tree. So there's actually 19 trees planted and 8 shrubs. And as part of Ryan's first monitoring report, he requested that the commission consider the 2, which is now actually 3 additional trees, be considered for those 8 shrubs that were not planted, kind of like a 4-to-1 ratio. So I believe that was granted based on my conversations with Ryan. And so looking at all of the plantings, everything was healthy. They had an 85% live wood threshold. So they're all considered alive. And they all exceeded or met the 75% survival rate. So everything, from my standpoint, looks good out there. The plantings look healthy, the markers are there. So yeah, so I'm just requesting that the commission issue the complete certificate.
Thank you. Deb or Clay, do you have any comment about this project?
Hi, so, yeah, this has been, it's gone through a few issues. I agree that now you can issue the complete COC. I think part of the problem with it was that the permanent demarcation goes all the way almost up to the building. And the plantings were supposed to go right in that area behind it so that the condo owners wouldn't think that they could put lawn or anything else in that area, because it was permanently demarcated at the 25-foot buffer zone, which comes up to the rear of the building. I know that at one point they had installed plantings that were then removed, probably by the condo people.
Yeah, the first buyer had removed like I think 8 of those shrubs that we planted closer to the house.
Right.
We did replant, but it was
Yeah.
that was really disappointing to see.
Yeah, no, I know.
6 months later.
And I don't know if all the plantings were in the actual wetland area at that time either. But essentially working with Ryan and Jamie, I think that we're up to speed and ready to sign off.
Okay, anybody have anything else to add for this? Anybody in the audience have anything to add for this? Okay.
There are no hands.
Okay, so if no one has any comments, I'll take a motion to issue the full certificate of compliance for 135 Maple Street, DEP file number 234781.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Peter,
Aye.
Allison, Bill,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Janet, aye.
Quick
Great.
question, Jamie, who should I send that to?
You can send it to me and I'll have it
Thank
recorded.
you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. John, you know that we already talked about Brookside. Are you just here
I'm
anyway?
also here for 28 Mar.
Okay, that's next. 28 Mar Road, DP file number 234554, compliance discussion. Oh, compliance discussion. Oh, this is the trees.
This is the trees.
Oh,
yes.
that plan.
Yep.
Okay, what do you like to, want to talk?
For the record, Dr.
State your name for the record.
Mecotech. Basically, there are at least 3 orders of conditions for 28 Mar, one for the construction of the house, one for the tree removal from 2009. Janet's probably the only person on the commission that was on the commission at that time. And there was
I gotta get off this commission.
And there's a 3rd order of conditions relative to the little pathway with the clearing out behind the other property you were talking about. The building and the cart path, those orders have been closed. The McCarthys are selling the house, and this time the title search company found this order didn't have a certificate of compliance. The McCarthys bought it not knowing that there was an open order. Basically what happened is in 2009, we filed a notice of intent to try to remove 11 trees behind the house on this property. After much discussion, several site walks, several letters with the arborist, etc., the commission determined that 4 of the trees could be removed, 4 of the trees could be pruned in some manner, and 3 of the trees couldn't be touched. So basically the closing attorney hired me to go out and find out what work was actually done. And I went out and determined that 5 trees had been removed, but we'll go through them. 3 of the trees were cut to the ground like they were supposed to, and they're the trees that were supposed to be cut. One was cut to a 15-foot snag like it was supposed to be cut. And one of the trees that was supposed to be pruned, which was a very large pine with 2 branches going up with the split towards the house, was removed at about that same time based upon the stump aging, but it wasn't allowed to be removed. So between the buyers, the sellers, the attorneys, and everyone else, they asked me to come up with a plan to bring this thing to compliance. So when I was out there looking for stumps, I went out there looking for the mitigation saplings that were supposed to be planted. Of course, none were found. We weren't hired to supervise, install, and monitor the saplings. It's all back in the Milton Schaefer days when he owned the property. So we have 5 trees that were removed. The original mitigation was 2 6 to 8 foot saplings for the 4 trees to be removed. So what we're proposing is 6 to 8 foot saplings for that. And what we're proposing is 4 1.5 inch caliper saplings per your new tree removal guidance for the tree that was removed without permission. And what we'd do is we'd get those installed next spring and monitor them for 2 full growing seasons and come back in 2 years for a COC request with 100% survival of those saplings as the requirement.
So is the house being sold?
The house is being sold.
And so they are in agreement. So what do you need us to do?
Basically, we're just looking for you guys to say that the plan that's proposed in my letter of November 5th will meet the requirement
Okay,
for getting a COC in 2 years if we have 100% survival of the 8 + 4, 12 saplings, 2 growing seasons
Yeah.
after they're planted. So we plant them next spring. The locations would be determined by me and approved by Deb in the field before the saplings go in. Clearly, we don't want to plant them closer to the house than the trees that were removed, because that was the reason why they were trying to remove the trees. But there's plenty of room in the buffer zone forest on this property to fit in some saplings under some of the pines.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I read your letter, so I was trying to figure out if we were supposed to do something more than just kind of bless your plan of attack. Anybody have any comments? Peter,
Yeah, that works for me.
Allison?
A question, so there's, the replacements are only for the one that was required, for the one that was removed?
And the mitigation plantings, I think.
But how many did you say, John? You only didn't say.
There would be 8 6 to 8 foot saplings, which were what was required originally in the order for the 4 trees to be removed. So 2 to 1, but smaller than what your current policy requires. And for the tree that was removed without a permit, we're proposing 4 1.5 inch caliper, which is twice what your policy requires relative to a tree removal, because the tree removal was unauthorized.
But the other ones were never planted, and so.
Nothing was ever planted. That's why.
Well, what difference does it make that it was, it's now, we're talking about now. You're trying to accommodate the original order now, right?
With regard to the 4 that were removed, yes.
Yes, so that why wouldn't you have to follow, this is a question, I don't know. Why wouldn't you have to follow the current policy? Forget about the old policy of little baby saplings. Why wouldn't you have to do as if it happened yesterday? They remove 4 trees and 1 in error, and they would have to replace with what would be required today, the caliper inch or the number of trees, 2 to 1. So why wouldn't you plant 10 trees? I don't know. It's just a question.
So I was just going with what the order required for the original mitigation relative to that.
They didn't follow the original order. So why would you, why does the town have to follow it if the owner didn't follow it?
That's why we're here having this discussion, so we can all be on the same page.
Okay, Bill?
Well, Allison brings up a good point. Maybe more trees are applicable here.
Or bigger trees?
Bigger
I was trying to
trees.
decide if they should be larger trees
I
than
think the
that.
number's fine. It's just a matter of, we have 4 1.5 inch. You want the other 8 to be 1.5 inch as well to meet your current policy.
John, please forgive me. I know you're great. We love, do a fabulous job. Right now, we're discussing it. Bill said maybe more trees are applicable. You saying, no, we think they're fine. That's not us discussing it. So
It's a number and the size, I guess, right? We have to agree on the number and the size.
Yeah. And so, yeah, should the number be, I was thinking that we needed to make the size larger, but Allison was thinking the number should be more.
So if they're doing, they're the 4 that they took down, the 2-to-1 replacement, that's current.
And they
And so
didn't
they're
do
gonna
what they were
plant
supposed to
those.
do.
They took
Yep.
down 1 tree they weren't supposed to and are proposing double what our current policy is by planting 4 trees for that 1
Right.
tree that was removed without permission.
Yep, but they
So
were
they're
gonna be a
planting,
different size.
yeah. I mean,
So there
that's,
was just
I don't
gonna
think you
be,
need more. I think they're covering what they are supposed to.
Okay.
so for 5 trees, we're getting 12.
12.
But 4 of those were gonna be 1.5 inch and 4 of them were gonna be smaller.
8 of them were gonna be smaller.
8 of them were gonna be smaller.
Deb, what were the size of the trees that were taken down?
John,
When they're not supposed to be?
Oh, just the one that
well, there
was
was
not.
just 1. The
Just one.
others were supposed to
I
be.
can tell you what the 5 trees that were removed were at that time.
Okay.
Tree number 2 was a 10-inch pine. Tree number 3 was a 15-inch pine. Tree number 6.
You
which was-
want to put up the plan so that you can see what he's talking about, or does it matter?
Clay, do you
I'm
have a plan?
I'm okay with John just describing it.
Okay.
Tree number 6 was cut off at 15 feet. That was a maple, which is why they wanted it cut off and left as a snag for habitat. It's still there and it looks great habitat. Tree number 7 was a 15-inch pine, and the tree that wasn't supposed to be removed was a 2-stem 28-inch pine, which is why I went with the 4, because you had 2 main stems going up. So I went with 4 as replacement. I think we can, if we go with 12 1.5 inch of the species listed in here, I think everyone can agree to that and move forward. I was just going.
Allison, does that make
I'd
sense to
agree
you?
to that. Yeah, I'd agree to that.
Yeah, I was just going with what the original order said. That's why I split it out. And in lieu of an enforcement order, we're basically self-enforcing by penalizing.
Yep.
So,
Yep, I remember the conversations. I feel like we have another project on South Street that's gonna be having the same conversation someday. So, all right, so I'm good with 12 1.5 inch caliper trees going in per your plan. Anybody else have an opinion? Do we vote on this, or do we just have this is the discussion and we have it in our meeting minutes? Anybody want to say that they agree or disagree?
I
with that
agree.
statement?
I agree with what you said.
Anybody disagree? You disagree, Allison?
No, I agree.
I thought you raised your hand like, I don't know. Okay, so if in 2 years, you want to come back for a certificate of compliance with some beautiful trees? That sounds good.
Yep, here's what the process is. Next spring, I'll contact Deb. We'll go out and figure where they're gonna go. We have 12 trees listed in the letter. They'll just all be 1.5 instead of the 2 different sizes. We'll get them planted next spring before June, with the date I have in there, which is June. The June date. And basically we'll monitor them next fall and then the fall of 2023. We're proposing 100% survival. And if that's the case, we'll be back in for a full certificate at that point.
Sounds good.
But we
Do you
just,
have all that in the meeting minutes? Clay, good, excellent. Thank you very much, John.
okay.
Anything else? We're good.
Thank you.
Okay. We went through everything. Is there anything else to discuss? Oh, we have meeting minutes and enforcement orders. We didn't do that part. And we have to do some of the order of conditions, right?
And we have 2 other items.
Oh, all right. Well, how about meeting minutes? We had 2 sets of meeting minutes.
No, Sue's not
Um,
here. She texted me she wasn't feeling well. So
Okay.
she dropped out.
She
Oh,
did.
had she been here ever? Did she give you any comments on the meeting minutes?
She said that they looked good. No,
Okay. I don't have the dates written on this piece of paper. Can you tell me what the dates were?
I did one older and one newer, so the dates are January 7th, 2021 and July 8th, 2021.
Okay, anybody have any opinion about those meeting minutes? We'll start with the January 7th, 2021. Sue made some comments and I looked at them. Anybody have anything to add? Can I have a motion to approve the January 7th, 2021 meeting minutes?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Can we
Aye.
just-
Aye.
And then the July 8th, 2021 meeting minutes, any additional comment on those? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, 2 meeting minutes. Any enforcement or violation updates? Diane was on for a while. Did she just dropped off?
I don't know. Maybe she was waiting to hear what the discussion was for the order for Alder. I don't know.
Oh, because I thought she would have stayed, but anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what I assumed she was here for, but anyway. So you had 2 other things to discuss?
So Clay had circulated the revised calendar that we really need to vote on tonight, because we need to get it up for people to plan into January when they're going to be filing.
Okay, so we had a new, it was a new one that was submitted, 2022 meeting schedule. Did people take a look at it? Any concerns? Can I have a motion to approve the one that was sent to, for tonight's meeting? There was one sent last meeting, but that has been revised, so it's a new one as of today, with the first meeting being January 6th and the second meeting being January 28th. Is that true, or is the January 6th meeting wrong? January 6th is the first meeting?
Yeah, it's because there's going to be a long gap with the holidays, and then the second meeting would have conflicted.
I already know I won't be here for that January 6th meeting. Put it on record. Okay, so do we vote on this? You have a motion to
Yeah.
approve the 2022 meeting schedule?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Hopefully it won't be all Zoom. Hopefully we'll be back in person at some point.
Any idea when?
Well,
It's all Zoom.
as of April 22nd, I think.
Doesn't the governor have to lift the emergency order?
Well, he does, I think the town could go back. Somebody was talking about one of those owls.
Yeah, we're doing that.
You are doing the owls?
Yep,
So-
there's already one set up in the Charles River room.
Oh, so we could do that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
once you return, you can go to the hybrid format.
We can. Do we want to do that? Or are we still happy to stay on Zoom for a while?
I like my beach.
You like your beach? I kind of like my dining room. But,
So what happens on April 22nd then?
well, will come back. I mean, I think the original meetings are supposed to be open meetings in person, and that's how it's usually listed. This is the emergency thing, says they don't have to be open in person, they could be.
I know, but doesn't that end on April 22nd and you have to come back? Yeah, so you can't stay Zoom.
We can't stay Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, I
Right.
think for the.
I know.
I think for the sake
Unless
of
you
the.
change it.
Yeah, well, I think for the sake of the public, we probably should start trying to get back as soon as possible. If some of us don't feel comfortable, some of us could be, do the Zoom aspect or the video aspect connection. But I think as for the sake of true open meetings and free people coming to us, I think we need to get back when possible,
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Okay, and so we did the calendar. And the other thing I had sent to Janet and Peter, I forwarded you the email. Hold on. Sorry. I forwarded you the email about the Climate Action Plan Committee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that the town's putting together, and there's gonna be a requirement that someone from the Conservation Commission be part of it.
We
And
know when they meet, do we know anything about their schedule?
we don't. The email said that they were giving us advance notice that the select board is currently interviewing candidates for its 5 citizen appointments for the Climate Action Plan Committee. They're likely to finish up by December 3rd with possible appointments during the 14th select board meeting. Since the planning board and conservation commission are each due to send a member, in addition to 2 select board members, I wanted to keep you in the loop on the timeline so that your respective bodies have time to consider which member they'd like to send forward.
So the Climate Action Committee, that's what it's called?
Yep.
So is anybody immediately feeling like they would like to be part of the Climate Action Committee or for the town of Needham? Or, and is this a 1 year, 2 year? Artie, you're in?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Nice.
Anybody else want to fight for it?
Please do, actually.
All right. Artie's our man.
Please do.
Okay, nice.
Thank you very much, Artie. That's awesome.
I was trying to be a shill, just so you know. I was trying to be the shill. You weren't supposed to close the gavel yet that soon, Janet.
You stepped forward and everyone else stepped back.
Yep. We're like, all right. How about it?
Damn it.
That was easy. So
Yeah.
I had emailed around my 2 draft findings and special conditions.
So is there just 2? Isn't there? I thought there was 3.
I
Side?
did
Oh,
Wayne
was in a minute.
to the Dropbox, but did not email it around. That one is entirely stock conditions, except tonight was discussed for the patio, so I can review that one.
Which one were you talking about?
That was Wayne Road, 53 Wayne.
Oh, okay. Wayne Road stuff. Patio is permeable. Okay. And then we have 144 Brookside and 78 Elder, and you sent those around.
I did. I
And I
emailed
think
those around.
Peter has read them. He thought hard about them.
Look fine to me.
You read them?
Mhm.
I just want to see if there's anything special that I'm pointing out.
Anybody paying attention to, isn't there like the page he's on or something?
Yes,
Isn't something
Oh.
important?
I didn't know that.
it's 10-0
Yeah.
Patriots.
Is it 0 pages?
10-0.
They're
Oh,
winning.
Patriots are winning.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Nice.
That's
All right.
great.
So there wasn't
we're-
anything particularly exciting on that to discuss, so feel free to vote.
Okay, so I'm looking at, I think I'm looking at 144. How do I know that? Is there an address on here somewhere? 234-879. 879. So I'm looking at 144 Brookside. Okay. So can we have, we looked through this? This is the one with Brookside with the tree and they did the gravel, they did a test pit in the gravel lot. And they're removing a tree and they're adding a tree. Or 2 trees or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 trees.
Anybody have anything to add? Take a motion to approve the order of conditions for 144 Brookside Road, DP file number 234879. As written,
So moved.
Okay.
all in favor? Bill,
Aye.
Allison, Peter,
Aye.
Artie,
Aye.
Steve, Janet, aye.
Aye.
Great, one done. The other one was 78 Elder Road. Deb sent around a draft exhibit.
Yeah.
This
See.
is the one that's within the riverfront, new
Yeah.
house.
So they had taken down 5 trees prior to realizing they were in riverfront area. So they're planting 10 trees, 5 red maple, 5 flowering dogwood. So I did put in a monitoring requirement for those because there's 10's a good number. So I think we should keep an eye on their success.
Great. Anybody have any comment about this one? Peter, you're good?
Yep.
So can I have a motion to approve the order of conditions for 78 Elder Road, DEP file number 234880 as written?
So moved.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill, Peter,
Aye.
Allison, Steve, Artie.
Aye.
Aye.
Good. All right. And the other one, Clay, you did was 53 Wayne Road, which was our typical stock. And typically you will have it for us to look at, but we just don't have it right now.
It's currently on the Dropbox. I can send out an email right now to circulate it, or I can pull it up on the share screen.
Yeah, pull it up on the share screen. That'd be good.
So I've laid out the finding of facts. This project is strictly within existing lawn and footprint of the previous single-family house. There's
Did
no,
you get his name spelled right? It was a tricky one.
yeah, I double and triple checked it. And then going down the special conditions, we have all the regular stock ones where they have to have the pre-construction site visit, recording of the deed, placement of the DEP file number sign at the street. The erosion controls will be inspected at the time of the pre-construction site visit. Any changes to the plans need to be submitted to us before they deviate for approval. Man-made debris that might be located in the back of the property needs to be removed. No disturbances beyond the limit of work, the erosion control line, which in this case is along the 50-foot buffer zone. The erosion controls must be inspected regularly and fixed and cleaned out as needed. Any stockpiled soils should not be left for extended periods of time without being covered or secured. There should be no dumping of any material downgrading of the limit of work. If earthwork ceases for more than 30 days, all exposed soils must be stabilized with temporary vegetated cover, straw mulch, or the like. Then they're required to have the traditional certificate of compliance requests accompanied by an as-built plan, the narrative from the engineer stating any deviations. They need to have an O&M plan for the subsurface infiltration unit signed by the homeowner. And the final condition is any future alterations need to be re-permitted, essentially. The only other condition that is not currently in this draft that was discussed tonight was that the extent of the details for the patio need to be submitted prior to the building of the patio, and it needs to be a pervious design. I will put a caveat that if they go with impervious with that design, they need to come back before the commission for an amended order.
Okay. And where will that be? Before post-construction?
Yeah, it'll be under construction,
Okay.
probably about here, because that's usually what catches the eye, and it'll be bolded for part of it.
Great. Anybody have any comments or questions regarding this? Can I have a motion to approve order of conditions for 53 Wayne Road, DP file number 234881 as discussed?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Allison, Peter,
Hi.
Artie,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Janet. Aye. Great.
Do you need either of us to be at your site visit Tuesday, or are you good on your own?
I guess I'm good. Are you good?
Okay.
Allison? Anybody else? Bill's coming, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give myself a reminder on that, so I don't forget to show up there. 23rd, 8 o'clock. Okay, anything else? Are we ready to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
No.
Are you gonna be putting a bunch of stuff in my garage, and when will that happen?
I mean, realistically, it's probably not gonna happen till Monday.
Okay.
So I don't know if people are going away for Thanksgiving. Are people gonna be around to sign?
I'll be around.
Okay,
I'm here.
okay. All right, so I'll send out the usual email, let you know what's in there.
Great, thanks. Okay, so I'll motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. Have a great Thanksgiving if I don't see you.
This ended
Happy
much, this
Thanksgiving.
ended much sooner than I thought it was gonna end, considering the agenda.
We're that good.
We're that good.
Considering how it started.
My God, considering how it started, yes. Bye, gang. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Good night, all.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye, Isabella, since you've been haunting me.
Bye, Isabella.
My kids have been driving me nuts, just so you know.
Good night.
I'm glad you find this amusing, Clay. Say good night, Isabella.
Good night.
Good night.